Welcome to Google Ads Unleashed, the podcast that helps you harness the power of Google Ads. And now your host, Jeremy Young.
You cannot choose keywords anymore. This is basically what Vidya Srinivasan summarized it as at the recent Google Marketing Live, and what it means for you and what it means for the coming year 2026, 2027 is what I'm going to tell you all about in today's episode. Welcome back to Google Ads Unleashed, guys. Hope everyone is doing fabulously this Monday morning. The last two episodes were pre-recorded because I was away on business travels, but I'm back in the UK, and of course, like everyone, I watched the recap of the GML 2026. Normally, I've sort of in the past years started to avoid this, to be perfectly honest with you, because it's a lot of sort of wishy-washy, which is why instead of sitting through basically hours of content, it's much easier that you just listen to a pod that summarizes it in 5 to 10 minutes for you what it was all about. I watched the recap so you don't have to, but yet again I was not really completely blown away because a lot of the information in there wasn't really completely new, and a lot of the features kind of already exist or we already knew about. So this is not really something that was particularly of use. That being said, there were a few really interesting things in there, and I want to talk through all of them today and give you a little bit my take on it. So the first thing that Google presented was the AI brief, which they called their most important announcement. To a certain degree, you can already do that when you write ads, or within PMax campaigns, you can sort of give brand guidelines and then it'll suggest headlines and descriptions and so on. But basically, going forward, Google is describing that people should be put input in their brand audiences, guardrails in conversational language. So, for instance, tone of voice documents, and then the system interprets it to sort of generate sort of ads for you. It also rolls out then targeting and creative messaging with one single input. And what is promised is that advertisers don't have to worry about don't have to worry about sort of creating campaigns anymore. Well, I see this very critically, because as anyone who uses AI, you probably have realized that it's all about input. Input equals output, and I think there's going to be a couple of issues here. First of all, people who don't really know how to use AI properly, and there's going to be a couple of years until everyone understands how the system works, they are going to use it and they're going to get terrible output. Also, I think this is going to sort of create something which is a lot of people have already described, is sort of the AI downward spiral, because if everyone is using it, then basically AI is sort of relying on other AI content on the web, and it just creates this downward spiral of AI rubbish, which basically is going to flood the entire ecosystem. And I'm not really a big fan of it. I think what should happen and what you should be doing is you should still be super specific about your inputs. Use potentially other AIs as well to refine your ad systems, but more importantly, you should be a marketer and use your brain. I think the thinking is not going to go away. Potentially we're going to be forced down this rabbit hole, and it might become the only way to create ads in the future, but I don't really sort of subscribe yet to this feature. I never use it in my ads now. I don't think it's as important as Google has made it out. I'm not really convinced. I think sort of some of the other things, such as the involvement of image creation and so on, that's going to be a lot more fun. But I don't want to sort of spend all my time on this. The next thing was AI Max for shopping. So basically it's going to involve a one-click setting that lets standard shopping campaigns respond to the expanding search universe, specifically conversational long-tail queries that a product feed alone can't match anymore. I think this is a really positive and beneficial step, because that's where the future is going to go. And if there's a feature that can be even toggled on and off that could dive into this sort of stuff, happy days. I think this is really cool and should be tested, and I think that's going to be really, really beneficial. The bigger question, however, is what's the overlap with PMax? Because PMax is meant to do this kind of bit a little bit. So are both campaign types now handling conversational queries? Google didn't give any guidance on that unless I completely missed it. So I think it's a really interesting and significant unlock for normal shopping campaigns, and I think shopping campaigns are not going to go away. They're going to get an upgrade. That, in my opinion, that's a very, very positive move. But there is not really a practical framework that they've yet released with that, like they've done with their suggestions, like with the Power Pack and so on. So we're going to have to wait for that, but I think that's a really cool feature that we will see and that we'll have to dive into. Then I thought update number 3, which was really interesting, was Asset Studio. So AI generated creatives, AI generated videos, and one-click A/B testing. I thought that was really cool, a really cool update, and something that we saw coming anyway. For instance, when I was on the podcast with Thomas Etchel here, he predicted that this is going to happen, and it is now happening. So Google has upgraded Asset Studio with multimodal Gemini-powered creative generation, and this is going to be really cool. This will be probably added in summer. It'll start, and then further down the line it's going to have updates such as AI generated imagery, workflows for video creation, creative recommendations, and so on. So basically there's no excuse anymore for marketers not to be using demand gen, something that Google is leaning into more and more, and that summarizes what I was saying at the beginning. Keywords weren't mentioned once in GML, right? So Google is moving away from this kind of concept slowly but surely, and has realized that overall it needs to lean a lot more into the into upper funnel marketing and into generative AI. The reason I think Google is making this step as well, because it's feeling the burn from search, because of course other AI engines are taking away market share bit by bit from their Perplexity, ChatGPT, Claude, etc., etc. And Meta is catching up fast and is, I think, this year expected to overtake Google in its total advertising revenue. And I think it's because Meta has understood a couple of years ago that basically push marketing is limitless and is the future and has more capability. And Google has been sleeping on this a little bit in the last 10 years, and only really since sort of 2019-20 has started to push the YouTube agenda. Now demand gen more and more. In many accounts, demand gen is actually overtaking our search spend. So it's something that we're seeing as well. But yeah, this is what they are doing to support that sort of development and try to up their revenue in that area. Then number 4, which I found interesting, was the universal cart and commerce infrastructure story, which they talked about. So the universal cart will be something that basically Google will be able to have sort of an application that lives within the Google sort of cosmos, so that you can shop across search, the Gemini app, across YouTube, Gmail, and have this all basically within one product. Why that is important is the checkout is going to move away from your website to the Google infrastructure. So this is a move that you probably will have to make. Probably Google itself will become another channel that you just add to your portfolio, rather than just, you know, you're not going to replace checkouts. That's never going to go away, because people will want to purchase directly from you and repeat customers and so on. But it's going to be a fundamental change to the customer journey potentially, and it's going to be just another channel like Amazon, like another marketplace across the entire Google infrastructure. So I thought that was a really cool update. That's going to be like massive for the future. Then the next one, which I found interesting, is that new formats will be emerging for AI search that include ads inside AI mode that read as part of the convo. So direct office may surface directly within the conversation when you use Gemini. And what is going to be interesting is that this is basically going to make keywords completely meaningless. So how that is actually going to look like, I don't quite know yet, but it's something that we will have to adapt to. Then something that we already know is that DSA is going to be upgraded to AI Max. We're already doing this in a lot of accounts, and it's going to be upgraded in September 2026. So if you're still running DSA and it's working good, keep it running. I don't think you don't have to lean into it super quick just yet. You still have a bit of time, but it might be time to run some A/B tests now versus AI Max, or to see if you want to switch over completely already. So it also sort of highlights how much of the content on site is going to be important and that you need to be putting in place in order for that to unfold its full power, because AI Max, of course, relies a lot, like DSA, on the content, on the quality of the content of the landing page. Then I think another sort of interesting insight was what they call the unified intelligence layer, and this is kind of the one of the last points that I want to talk about. And it's basically an unified AI agent built on Gemini that will bring together Google Ads, Analytics, Merchant Center, and Google's other data tools to pull insights across several platforms. So it's basically like a tool that will understand what is happening across different Google platforms a bit better, to give you more oversight how you can like combine insights across several tools and what you need to fix quicker, which is pretty cool. And then lastly, something I'm very excited about is campaign type attribution. I've done tons and tons of podcasts about how to optimize demand gen, how to build demand gen, how to what kind of data points to use to interpret demand gen results, etc. But demand gen is finally getting a clean and separate attribution view, and it'll also get some uplift experimentation, which will then be more widely available. And again, this sort of supports the narrative that I've been saying: different attribution to be able to understand the impact of demand gen better. Hopefully, it's actually good, right? Because it could be just crass over reporting again, so I'm a little bit wary of that. But it's just basically solidifying the argument for demand gen, because if you can, through an uplift experiment, see its impact on branded search, or its impact on overall search, or its impact on revenue, then of course you can actually sort of make the argument of spending more on that format. It'll also have a feature called qualified future conversions, which will show conversion potential from brand awareness activity using early intent signals such as branded searches, and there will be no tagging for that necessary. So that's really cool, and one of the core features. And I think in summary, whilst a couple of features were already sort of known, like AI generated assets and AI generated creative, DSA is going to be AI Max, everything was AI, right? Which is not surprising, but a lot of it was push marketing and move to demand gen, because I think Google is feeling the burn a little bit with its search revenue being relatively flat, right? Still growing, but not as strong as they've been growing in the last sort of 15 years, I suppose. And this is sort of seeing Meta push harder and harder, and they're seeing that it might overtake them in advertising revenue. So of course they want a piece of that cake, and I predict a mighty return, a sucker punch from Google, because I think they're going to absolutely nail this. It's really interesting, and you've got to stay up to date. So if you want to stay up to date, subscribe to the pod. I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to talk to you if you're a D2C brand. A few spots have opened in the agency for June and July, so reach out if you are interested. We have a bit of one-to-one training capacity as well, so please get in touch if you want to sort of be coached through those quite fundamental changes in the coming months. Other than that, if you have any questions, just reach out, jeremy@younganddigital.marketing. Head to the website, younganddigital.marketing. You can actually book a meeting with me there, or you can send me a message, Jeremy and Google Ads, on LinkedIn. And as always, thank you very much for listening. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening to Google Ads Unleashed. To connect with Jeremy, check him out online at www.younganddigital.marketing. We'll see you next time.